Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Welcome, kindreds, it's Jessica the Story Witch. This video I've called You Can't Be a Witch Without a Book of Shadows. I deliberately picked a kind of controversial title because I see lots of these kind of rules of witchery being bandied around the place. Not by lots of people, only by some people, and it pisses me off. The terminology we use for things is really important, and I enjoyed watching Laura Daligan's video she talks about how she used to have a book of shadows, and now since her path has kind of changed and evolved a little bit, she now has what she calls a magical journal instead, which I thought was a lovely thing to call it. So I am a witch. I do not have a book of shadows. I do not have a grimoire. And Laura also kind of makes the clarification in her video that a book of shadows is kind of more associated with a Wiccan path, whereas a grimoire tends to be just a witch path. There's lots more history and things you can dive into with both of those words. I'm not going to kind of cover that here today now, but I wanted to talk about how writing things down is really important, words are really important, but having a kind of book of shadows, as you see in movies, and some people tell you how you should set them up and things like that, it's much more of an individual process which works for me, and I'm going to show you what my individual process is and how it kind of changes and evolves. I hope that's interesting. I like watching people talking about their journaling, their planning and things like that. So if that's not your thing, then maybe this video is not for you, so switch off now. But if you do like those videos too, then I hope you enjoy this and you keep watching. So like I said, I don't have a book of shadows or a grimoire. What I do have is, I'll see if I can pick this up, oh my gosh, it's so heavy. I can't even get it. This is one box I pulled out of my loft. No, I can't even get it, it's too full. This is one box of many which are in the loft of journals, sketchbooks, I don't know, what I call them, personal reflective diaries, has changed over the years. I'm just going to put that down because that is really fucking heavy. So, yeah, I started diary keeping when I was about 10 years old. I think I kind of started regularly journaling, and like the early diaries would be very much about like my day and who I had crushes on at the moment. But I also started recording kind of spiritual experiences and things in them quite young too. I've still got my diary from 1989, which is kind of cool because it's got my I can't be 89, so it must be like 92, I think, when I was 13 and I first started menstruating, and I've got like, I got my period, loads of like decorations and stuff on it. It was obviously a big deal for me then, and it's really cool to kind of look back on those things now. I'm going to show you some of my journals which are just in this box. I haven't kind of looked through this yet, so hopefully there's some interesting stuff here. The one on the top is more of a sketchbook, I guess, than a journal. It's got loads of stuff kind of just rammed into it. Photographs, New York, and drawings. Penarth, which is just down the road from me here. Some drawings and things I've done. Little bits of writing as well, but this is kind of mainly drawings, sketches, things like that. And then I buy so many notebooks. I read one of my journals when I was about sort of 13, 14. In the last few pages of it, I was reading them back the other day, and it was like, I really hope somebody buys me a new notebook for Christmas because I've almost run out of space in this one. And I was like, oh, poor me, didn't even have money to buy a notebook, which made me feel a bit sad. But yeah, and then lots of them are just kind of like this, more kind of written. I do date usually. although I don't always put the year, so like that says Wednesday the 21st of October. I don't know when, but you know, once you read in, you can kind of work it out usually. I had books when I started doing, back in 2005, I think now, 2004, I did Reiki training, and I had like a Reiki book there, which I recorded kind of about the journal and things in there. And yeah, these tend to get repurposed into other things then later on. So these are kind of, blank and lots of that one. So sometimes I start them, and this was one of the things I was going to talk about, is that I've tried lots of different systems and ways of doing this, and the main thing comes down to for me is like, what is the point of it? What is it for? And also another important question is, who is it for? So with like a traditional Book of Shadows, if you're going to be like setting out things like the Wheel of the Year, like Esbats, Sabbats, you know, you're putting all that kind of information, and you might have information on correspondences, you might have goddess connections you've had, you might have details of meditations you've done, spell working, you know, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of really great stuff. Well, what I find is that what I tend to find useful to be written down is the stuff that is personal to me. So things like meditations, experiences and things that I've had like that, I will write down, and workings that I have done, I will write down. But general information, like what various full moons, new moons and things mean, astrological information, basically things that you cannot find freely on the internet or in books. I don't find it that useful to kind of keep regurgitating that information into a book. I'm not saying anything against people who do that, because it is a really great way of kind of reaffirming and connecting with the things that are important. But for me, the journaling is a much more kind of personal record and a personal experience. I want to know what my thoughts and feelings were, not just like generic information, if you see what I mean. And this connects into that whole who is it for, and the journals are very much for me, and I tend to write because that is how I make sense of the world. So when I start writing things, it helps me to think. And also I do a lot of like kind of free writing. I do morning pages. That's from The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron, who's really cool. I'll put a link to her work down below if you want to get into journaling more and kind of connect to your own unconscious information. Then that's a really cool thing to do, because you just kind of free write out 3 pages longhand in the mornings, and it gives you insight. So that's a really cool process, and that is probably why I end up filling so many books. Yeah, so many books. And I've got some that are kind of more half and half, some writing, some random bits of stuff stuck in, some drawing, research. I do sometimes do them when I go away as well, so I'll do like a kind of travel journal. Let's see if I can find one of those. Yeah, here we go. These are things for me to refer back to, and they're also ones I would feel comfortable showing to other people. So this one was when I went to New York. I love New York, and it's got where I stayed there. And this has got, this is just like a sketchbook, upside down. So, just kind of bits and bobs of things that I did and what I saw, and kind of cool little sketches and things and interesting things I found while I was there. Some of the money. I like sticking things in. I like them having kind of 3D but they're never perfect, because it's a work in progress. You know, it's like kind of it is a working space. Lately, since I've since I've become a mum, which my eldest daughter should be 8 now in a couple of months, so I haven't had as much time to be able to spend journaling. I still journal every day, and that's still really important to me, but I find it's mainly writing, and it's got into that, like this year, I was going to show you what I did this year. These are my three books for this year, and they are very much just writing. So it's kind of bullet journal style, I guess I'm trying out here, where I tend to put like my word for the year at the beginning. This is like number 2 journal for the year, and then I'll have like an index, and then just writing. And it does make you think sometimes, what is it all for? I never look back on them, very rarely. Sometimes if I find one like in the drawer or something, I'm like, oh yeah, cool, I'll have a look back on that. And when we moved about a year ago now, I did find some of my older journals, and when I was clearing out some things out of my parents' house, I also found some of my really old journals, which was really cool, and I did read back through some of those, and that was really nice. It's funny how sometimes the themes that keep popping up in your life will be there even in really early on journals, and that's really cool to see. So what I've been wanting to do is to find a way of actually using this information that I've been writing, and I don't want to leave. I was talking to my sister and she's like, no, I don't keep a journal because I don't want anyone reading that stuff after I've died, which, like, she was joking, but there is really kind of personal stuff in these, and I trust that no one is gonna like rifle through them or read them. But what I've been wanting is I bet there's great wisdom in these that I am not accessing at the moment. So my grand plan for 2018, in my year of emerge is my word for the year. And if you don't know what a word for the year is, then my other video I made on that, I'll link that for you as well down below. So I want to start using these insights, information that I've been getting in my journals to help me progress on my path. So this year I've decided to try something slightly different. Like I said, I've tried kind of having like a book for every single thing, so like a dream journal, a healing journal, a spell work journal, a morning pages file, and it just got like unwieldy, and I found that I just was not finishing these books. So I've got books there like that have got empty pages at the end, and I don't like that. So what I've tend to do, like with these ones now, is literally every single thing goes in the one book, and that it does work. It's very portable and it's very easy because you just have to have the one book. But what it doesn't allow for so much is incorporating image, and I find that I love the most when I look back through my books, I love to look at the progressions of images as well, and the like kind of ephemera that I've collected that goes along with the words. It makes it more interesting to look back on, words and pictures together, and it also makes it more fulfilling, I guess. So I want to be incorporating image because I find that kind of taps into a whole other place of me that the words sometimes don't, even when I'm doing free writing and things like that. I've recently done a course with Lucy Pierce, and I'll link her down below as well. She provides lots of really great information and things, and it was about word and image and how they interact together, and how by accessing our kind of unconscious imagery as well as our unconscious words, we can make magic, basically. So I want to be doing that. Mandalas, I've been focusing on a lot as well, and I want to incorporate more mandala drawing, and Lucy talks about these on her course. She talks about wordalas as well, which you make mandalas out of words, and dandalas, which are like mandalas out of found objects and things, like when you go for walks and stuff like that. So I want to incorporate that basically into my daily practice. So what I've bought, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I think with like all systems like this is something you kind of have to try and see how it goes. So let me show you. I have got just a book like this. Oh, I'm getting caught. I have got just a kind of spiral bound notebook, and I like spiral bound because it means when you stick things in, it kind of expands, whereas if you get like a kind of a hardback, then it it just ends up kind of staying open. You can't do anything with it. So this is just lined plain, and I'm just going to use this as my kind of bullet journal-y type thing. So I'll use this in the mornings to just kind of note things down, things I've got to do, and any thoughts, any dreams, things like that can all go in here. That as basically it's the journal like I've been using these red books for 2017. But I've also bought this. Now I was thinking about the size of what I wanted to do, and A4 just felt a little bit daunting, and there's something just so nice about squares, don't you think? So I like this size. When I saw this book, I thought, yeah, and it says £12.99, but it was actually on offer in WH Smith, so I managed to get a little bit of money off that as well. So that's really cool, and it is just plain pages, and it does up with a little ribbon. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is use these pages. I'm not sure if you can see this now. Let me hold that like that. So I'm going to section off like margins on the page like that, and I'm going to have a mandala in the middle, the date across the top, and then moon phase and my daily draw cards in the corners, and a little gratitude journal down here in the bottom. And then as the spreads go on, this can be kind of like for free writing, which I can then cover up with collage and things like that. And then each page will be like an actual page of what is going on with me. So it'll be a much more visual book. So I'm going to have kind of like words and images. But one of the things that I've decided I'm going to do as a way of bringing my past selves forward and using that information is I'm going to go through all of my old journals, and I'm going to take things, like literally rip things out of them and collage them into this new book. So it's like kind of taking the past and bringing it forward into the present. And I was thinking, if I carry on this practice and kind of do this after years, then maybe one day I will be ripping things out of here and bringing it forward into a whole new book, whatever it is that I'm using in the future. I also have bought, because I didn't have an actual diary this year, you know, like a date diary, because I was noting everything down in the red book. I wrote like the months out, you know, like the kind of bullet journaling thing, you know, where you write the months out and you put your appointments and stuff in there. So I was using that. But I'm going to have a separate diary because I think it got a little bit confusing. I bought a few different ones. I've actually got one downstairs as well, which I haven't brought up. So I like this one. This is really great, especially if you're in the UK, because all the times are UK times. The Witch's Date book, which I've had. I didn't have this last year, but I've had it like years gone before. This one, which I love, I get this most years. So like you might think, why are you buying all the same 2018 journals? But I actually find that having the information of these, that like, it's not just dates, there's so much more in these books. They are books, you know, and I tend to use these for collaging and things like that. And now I've actually got a space for this, then I'm going to be able to, I can have like a whole spread, can't I, of like, when we get to certain Sabbats and things like that, I can use the things in here to build up my pages and make it more, just more. I think it's going to be, I'm really excited about it. And I also bought these, which were expensive, and I'm hoping that they're going to be cool. The little moon phase stamps. A little set of moon phase stamps. I don't know if, I think you might have the whole, what they look like. Oh no, maybe not. Basically, each day I can stamp the moon phase on. I mean, it's obviously not that I haven't got 28 little stamps, but they are, you can put the main sort of changing of the phases and things in there as well. I love stamps at the moment. I'm really into stamping, so I'm super excited about these. I'll make a little note of where I got them from. Worthwhile Paper, I think it says. So they were really cool. That was off Etsy. I'm really excited to be using them, and I want to try and do that as well. I want to use more different kind of textures and media and stuff in my books. So I hope that was vaguely interesting. It might not be interesting to anyone else apart from me, But I'm quite excited about it as a new kind of system going forward, and I will let you know how it goes, or let me know in the comments if you are at all remotely interested in how it goes. And I would like to know, if you have got to the end of this and watched this, what systems you use and what works for you. What do you have? A book of shadows? Do you have a grimoire? Why do you have it? What do you use it for? Who is it for? I know technically it should just be for you, but sometimes they can be handed down, that kind of thing, as heirlooms and stuff as well. So I'm really excited about that whole kind of recycling the past into the present and into the future thing that I'm going to be doing now this year. And yeah, I'm just excited, and I hope that you're excited too. I'm looking forward to the new year. Thank you so much for watching. Warmest blessings, and I will see you soon.